Good morning, everybody. NFL Divisional Round playoffs, betting for breakfast, brought to you by the Sharp app, the number one sports gambling app out there. Guys, if you're not a part of the community, if you haven't downloaded the app, do that today. These odds are on the move. You want to make sure you get the best numbers. There's one way to do that, and that is with the Sharp app. But listen, this is the apex. This is as good as it gets as far as NFL football is concerned. The divisional round playoffs. After this week, I'm going to admit I get a little bit depressed. We end up with only 2 games, the conference championship, only 3 games total with the Super Bowl after that. But these are the matchups that we've been waiting all season for. And the lines are tight. It's going to be a lot of fun betting on these games. I can't wait to go over each one of them with my man Dave Gleckner, who's with us right now. Dave, this is the crescendo, man. This is it for NFL football.
It is, and as you can see, my colorful self is in black today. This is a little bit of a little funeral for the Eagles last week. We had a good year, but I'm commiserating still. But what was good? The Eagles weren't, but what was? Our bets last week, 4-2. It felt a little off because I lost the last 2. Really felt the Steelers would hang in that late game, and they were just once again outclassed. And then forget it, Arizona, my bad. That was just I need a mulligan on that one, but. This week, I'm feeling good. I think we've lined up a couple sides. I think we're on most of the same ones. We might have 1 or 2 there that, we're kind of going to have to battle out. But I'm so pumped. This is usually the most competitive round of NFL football that we get in the playoffs. And you see it. Each line under 5.5. Really, some like these are the best 8. You can't even argue. They're Dallas maybe, but outside of that, these are the best 8. I would sit here and say it today, and I can't wait to see these 8 play.
Yeah, it's hard to make an argument that any of these teams that are going to be taking the field don't belong. And I think that's really what, the fans, sports bettors, everybody wants to see these marquee matchups and so many storylines within these games. You can, start with tonight's game, San Francisco, Green Bay, right? Kyle Shanahan, LaFleur. We've all seen the posts about Jay Gruden's coaching tree where he had both of these guys and he had Sean McVay who takes on Tom Brady. Tomorrow. So it's going to be, these are the elite teams and it's going to be super competitive in these games. And that's why you're seeing these lines so tight. So, a lot of differing opinions, listen, you can turn on, your favorite shows, whether they're just NFL, shows or betting shows or whatnot, and you'll see both perspectives of these games as there's a lot of back and forth between who's going to come out victorious. But it's been an incredible season so far in the NFL, and these are the matchups that you want to see. Tom Brady against the Rams and Sean McVay. It all ends with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, which I think is the premier matchup of the season. Forget about the weekend. I don't think there's another 2 teams facing off against each other that is going to be more exciting than the Chiefs Buffalo Bills game tomorrow night.
Yeah, I agree. I'm so glad that's the capper of the weekend. That right there just feels.
That's the climax.
That's as good as a Super Bowl matchup. Like that's how good of a matchup those 2 teams are. You could argue that they're possibly 2 of the 3-4 best teams, and we're going to get that to close out the weekend. Can't wait.
Yeah, definitely. So let's get into these games, man. We'll get right at it. We got 4 games. We're going to run down each of them. Listen, last week, pretty good week on your part, Dave, 4-2. I was split down the middle, 3-3, and going over these games. But let's talk about each game. We can touch on the totals, any props that we got. We'll run down them all. But the first one I want to start with, it will go in order, is the game that starts today. And that is Joe Burrow, really taking the Bengals from, the bottom of the NFL all the way into the divisional round of the playoffs. And he takes on the Tennessee Titans. Everybody's most unassuming number 1 seed, right? Nobody, really still believes in the Titans except bettors today. We're seeing this line opened up at 2.5, but some soft openers came out at 2.5, really opened up to the public at 3, blew right past the 2.5, blew right past the 3 immediately, sat at 3.5 all week. Now we're seeing the 4s pop, Titans money coming in. Dave, what are your thoughts on this matchup? Tennessee rested, getting the bye against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals.
This is probably the hardest game for me to handicap of the weekend. And of course, it's the opener. Felt pretty strong about the Bengals last week due to their kind of, we talked about the Raiders' point differential and how they showed up and how inefficient they were in the red zone and on third downs. And it really came back. And those were keys. The Raiders just couldn't convert in the red zone last week. This week, you can flip it on many angles. Yeah, you got Burrow. But, the key to Burrow is, we want to say recency bias, but recency bias is true. Cincinnati made a commitment to the pass in the past 4 weeks. Let's throw out the Week 18 game against the Browns. And they've been going at a clip of 63%. Over that time, Joe Burrow has been the number one passer in the NFL in those last 4 games. They've also been the number one pass offense and the number one expected yards per play. They are dynamic. They can move the ball. And once that commitment came to the pass, I think that it really opened up some new avenues from this team. They beat the Chiefs, which we saw. And now they're facing the Titans team, which also did beat the Chiefs, but that is weak in the secondary. The one area that you can exploit with the Titans is their defensive secondary. What I will say on the flip side, the Titans know that Burrow is the man against the blitz, rated number 1 in the league. They don't necessarily blitz very much. They're a low blitzing team. They're going to play a little zone. But didn't we say that last week against the Raiders as well, where the Raiders were not high blitz team and Burrow still had a very good game. So on the other side of the ball, the king is back, right? But the Bengals actually do have a pretty good rush defense, allowing the 5th least yards in the league rushing. I know it got a little bigger as the year went on, but they're good enough against the rush is what I would say. And their pass defense is their weakness, but really, I don't know how much you're going to see them ripping the ball with Tannehill. So for my money, I'm taking the dog with the 3.5, 4. I think there's a lot of value with the number over the line. I love the Titans. Don't get me wrong. I do think they end up winning this game. But I think you've analyzed, and I'll save that part for you, that play a lot of close games. So give me the team that plays a lot of close games, but give me the team with the points in that case. And I like the Bengals in the opener today.
Liking the Bengals. We talked about this game a little bit last night. Listen, guys, we appreciate everyone checking in. We got some picks here from childhood greats, Titans, 49ers, Rams, and Chiefs. That's who he's going with. Definitely some good picks there. We're going to talk about each of those games. And our guy John checking in as well. Wants to know if there's any magic left in Joe Burrow's bag. We're going to find out today, Dave. And, one of the most interesting things about this game, and I think what kind of slips the minds of a lot of people when they think about the Tennessee Titans, they always just think of Derrick Henry, right? But when you look at Mike Vrabel, they had an interesting stat that went up this week off 8+ games rest. Vrabel 8-0 straight up and against the spread. Team averages 29.6 points. Only average is allowing 10.9 points. That's an 18.7 point differential. And I think that is going to be the key in this game is the coaching advantage. Vrabel against Zach Taylor. We've seen Vrabel do it in the past in the playoffs. Shuts down Tom Brady in his last time he put on a Patriots uniform. Shut down Lamar Jackson, when he was, during his MVP season. So Joe Burrow poses a different challenge, right? But I think when you look at the Tennessee offense and you look at Ryan Tannehill, when he's had these weapons on the field, this Tennessee team has been very explosive. We have the graphic right here. Great job by our man, George. Listen, Tannehill on the season, top 3 in success rate, right? But Rich Rebar, Sharp Football, put out a tremendous stat this week. When Jones, Brown, and Henry have all been on the field this year, only 10% of the snaps, they average 9.4 yards per attempt. So Tannehill really opens up the offense. If you look at those games in the first half of the season, this is a Tennessee team that scored at a very high volume, very strong offense that can compete with Joe Burrow. So I think, they're going to be able to put points on the board in this game. And I really think of Vrabel's defense is going to show up. The Tennessee defense, if you look at it on the season, right, very unassuming when you think of them, but they are top 10 defensive EPA per play allowed, success rate top 5 against passing plays, right? So the Tennessee defense is a little better than I think people give them credit. And you look at how they play defense, right? They don't blitz, much like the Raiders. We talked about that last week. Joe Burrow is number 1 against the blitz. So teams aren't going to blitz them, right? Well, Tennessee doesn't operate that way. They're not going to send the house. They get pressure up front. Last week, did Burrow get the job done? Sure. Did he get some help from the officials? Sure. Right? But anyway, 225 yards against the Raiders was right on par with his average for the season on the road. If you look at Joe Burrow, how he's played on the road this year, his split's much, much worse than what he does at home. So now we have him going to on the road against a well-rested Vrabel team. I think he's going to struggle a little bit here. I like the Titans. I laid the 3.5. I had some first half minus 2.5. I wanted the 3, but I just ended up laying it. But Dave, to your point, 6 games this year, 6 Titans wins have come from a field goal or less. So I can understand why people, would be skeptical about the Titans. It's going to be a tremendous game. I think we can all agree that Titans win the game. So listen, if you're looking for some nice, creative way to kind of play the game, maybe you do some first half. Maybe you do I know some of these books offer some of those same game parlays where you can get the Titans on the money line, with a reduced total. I think that's something you can look at because I think both these teams are going to score in this matchup. But I think all in all, I just think this is too big of a mountain to climb for Joe Burrow.
Yeah, and listen, I get it. And when I look back to the Titans, I think you can almost talk about the 2017 Eagles too a little bit. A number one seed that's very undervalued. Teams just don't believe in them. Different quarterback situation, but a similar construct on offense and defense. So you've seen a lot of history here when teams that are doubted like this coming off the bye really do come up and perform well. Like I said, it will be my toughest game this weekend. I'm looking at the hot hand. I'm looking at a team that has actually decided to play a different style of football. And that's where I think we're going to get some good value. I do like the over in this game too as well. I think you're right. I think we're going to see some points.
Yeah, I think, one prop you might want to look at, right? The one thing that Cincinnati has done, if you look at their season as a whole, right? They started the season, Burrow threw a ton of interceptions, right? They were pass. They started to mix it in, right? And they got him more involved in the running game, and it really helped Burrow, kind of develop and flourish in the second half of the season when they got more balanced on offense, right? But it'll be interesting in this game because I think that with Derrick Henry, I think the Titans are going to be able to score here. I think that we could see a shootout. I think Burrow attempts it would be a nice prop to kind of focus on because I think they're going to come out and empty. They're going to try and spread out the Titans defense and they're going to fire. And I think they're going to have to keep pace with the Titans offense. So I think that's kind of like a prop that you could look at Burrow attempts because I think all in all, the stakes are raised. Zach Taylor is going to try and win on the arm of Joe Burrow. Whether he'll be successful or not, I'm not that sure. But I don't think we're going to see a very balanced attack from the Bengals.
No, I agree. And that goes back to the 63%, pass rate that they had in the last 4 games here. They realize where their goal is. And I like that prop bet as well. There was one other I was looking at, Drums. It seems like as we've gone on here, and the Tennessee Titans are a little bit susceptible to it, is with tight ends. And I like CJ Uzomah to score a touchdown in this game. I think you can get some decent odds on him. He did score a touchdown last game as well in the red zone. So I like CJ Uzomah to score a touchdown. I think that's good value. You can get that. I think he's around plus 400 here with a TD score. So
absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So there you go, man. This one, the odds makers, no surprise, did a great job with the line, right? They opened it up a little late, I think. Once it got pushed to 3.5, it's really been back and forth. I think that's the right number because you can make a case for both of these teams. Listen, I wouldn't be mad if somebody took Cincinnati on a teaser leg, right? If you like Green Bay to win the game outright, that's an opportunity, right? You can tease Cincinnati up, get it plus 10, and then, tease, Green Bay down. You typically, when it's under 6, do you really want to, if it's under 7, you really don't want to tease it down. But there could be some other options. You could tease the Bills up. I think there's a ton of teaser opportunities, in these matchups. But I think that the Cincinnati Bengals, probably not a bad teaser like when you look at it because Joe Burrow, the one thing we learned about him and this Bengals team, they're not going to give up. They're going to keep firing away. They're going to keep firing at you. So going to be an absolutely exciting game. But let's turn the page to the night game tonight in cold Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra. Everyone's talking about Jimmy G and his nice tan, having to bundle up and go to Green Bay and Lambeau Field against the San Francisco 49ers. This was a game everybody was worried about Jimmy G and his health Rappaport got everybody all stirred up early in the week, said Jimmy G might not play. Oh, no, Jimmy G's going to play. Listen, Bosa's going to play. Everybody's going to play. This is the NFL. They're not even testing for COVID. They're just throwing everyone out there, shooting them up, and, getting them ready for the playoffs. But, so this is a tremendous matchup because there's history here. Kyle Shanahan typically runs all over this Packers defense, and this might be the most prolific 49ers offense we've ever seen under Kyle Shanahan.
That's a strong word because we're going back to the Super Bowl day when that, with Kaepernick, it was dynamic, right? But, I mean, the way they've mixed in Deebo Samuel into the run game and the way they're able to have a monster like Kittle out there in the passing game to really spread the field, it's a tough offense to really game plan for. So that's a good argument. This is a good team. Kyle Shanahan has done just an amazing job. You can plan for their run, and you can do all you want. He's going to come with you with some different looks. He's genius. I never like to toss around that word, but he's so creative, so smart with how he game plans his running game and how he's able to create that zone blocking scheme. They're going to get their yards. Elijah Mitchell is just a perfect type of runner for them. He is physical, he's downhill, and he doesn't fumble. So, they're good, man. You're right. That's a good offense, but they're also going up against one of the best as well.
Yeah, it's an excellent point because I think turnover, that's the key to the game for San Francisco here. They cannot turn the ball over because Green Bay does not turn the ball over.
Right.
And Green Bay is way too good to lose the turnover margin against. So they got to play a clean game in this one. This line now is, it's settled at 5.5, Dave. Again, we've seen a ton of movement, but it looks like it's right around 5.5 across the board. How are you playing this one as far as, the game's concerned? Did you already bet it? What number did you get at? What are you looking at in this matchup? Because I think that, Green Bay, this could be their last hurdle. If they get by San Francisco, they're going to be favored in that NFC Championship, and we could see Aaron Rodgers get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I've loved San Fran, one of our strongest plays last week. I called them out right on the show. Just really felt like that's a dynamic matchup for them. Where this week, I feel like this is really, really hard for San Francisco. And I can see them win. We can all see them winning. They're a very good team, but you're going up against a different situation here, a different quarterback, a different environment. You're not in the dome in a cozy situation. This is tough, and they're going to have to rely on Jimmy to make some plays in this game. I'm just not sure he can. Also, the health of losing an offensive lineman, Bosa, Warner on the defensive side. I don't know quite how healthy they will be. So for my money, I plugged in 5.5 early in the week. It's still sitting at 5.5. Packers. I think Rodgers is just so creative on his side in the passing game that if they are able to create pressure, he's going to do those quick flips out to the side. He's going to keep those chains moving, and he's going to get on the positive side and make you chase and get off schedule. If the 49ers are off schedule, see, they won that game against Dallas because they were up and they could control their game and play their style. If they get down in this game, I think it's the worst position they can be in. Some teams are meant to play from behind, can open it up. I don't think the Niners are, not in that environment, so that's going to be the key to the game for me. And obviously that creates turnovers, right? When you get pressured.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an excellent point, Dave, because, we saw the Niners come back against the Rams after being down 17-0, right? Mm-hmm. But the Rams are a team that self-destructs, and you're not going to get that from Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to get that from the Green Bay Packers. But, we talked about this game a ton during the week as well. I got in on San Francisco at +6 early in the week. I'm very excited about that position and capturing the key number. I did play some San Francisco money line as well. And listen, I have a future Super Bowl ticket on San Francisco, so maybe I'm a little bit biased. Maybe I'm not being 100% objective. But when I look at the numbers, I think these teams are very, very similar on paper, statistically. You can look at San Francisco. Like I said, they are, a very prolific offense, and I don't think they get that type of credit. Yards per play, net, they're number 2 in the NFL, right? They're number 1 the second half of the season. The Green Bay's 12th. You can look at success rate, net, right? So you take offensive success rate minus the defensive success rate, right? San Francisco 5th, Green Bay 9th. EPA, Green Bay's better, right? Because they rely on more explosive plays from Rodgers. Rodgers uses his talent. gets them out of a jam more, where San Francisco's more consistent, right? DVOA, San Francisco 6th, top 5 weighted DVOA, Green Bay 9th, right? You look at the San Francisco offense, right? Top 10 first quarter scoring against Green Bay 25th. So everything kind of leads with that running game of them getting out to an early lead in this game. They're a top 5 offense. Green Bay's rush defense, 27th and 28th in terms of success rate allowed and EP allowed on rushing plays. So I think that's kind of the key to me is that, I agree with you 100%. Game script's going to tell you in this one. There's going to be live betting opportunities because this is not a team like the Rams that San Fran can come back against. And if they get that ball rolling early with the running game and they score and they put pressure on Aaron Rodgers, I think that they're going to win this game. And I think you're going to be able to tell from the first quarter who's going to win this game, because when we look at the San Francisco defense, you talked about Aaron Rodgers, how he has to use the middle of the field. A couple key things with that, right? That's going to depend on the health of Warner. Is Warner 100%? Can he shut down that middle of the field like he's done all season? That he's one of the best cover linebackers in the NFL. That's something that we don't know. As bettors, we have to guess, right? But one thing we do know, no MVS for Green Bay, so they don't have that field stretcher. That's going to allow the safeties and the secondaries to come up a little bit and help out with that kind of stuff. So, one of the key things I talked about, was Aaron Rodgers. One of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, right? Under pressure, 30th in the league, under pressure. So San Francisco can get that pass rush cooking. I think they can have some success. I like them here with the points. I like them on the money line, but I agree with you 100%. If they get down early, it's going to feel 10 times more colder for San Francisco.
Yeah.
And it's going to be much, much difficult for them to come back and win this game.
Yeah, and the last point I'll say, I'm not the biggest Rodgers guy. I know a lot of people are, but the dude balls in this round. He's 4-1 in the divisional round in his past 5 appearances, 4-0 at home. So he kind of, coming off that bye, he knows they prepare well. This is the key for me. This could be the swan song for him. And I feel really true in my heart that this team is getting to the Super Bowl because of that added pressure he has on the team, the added focus. Because for me, Aaron Rodgers gives games away because he gets a little loose and is not a great leader. I think he's going to be dialed in for this one. He knows he wants to go out of Green Bay the right way, like Elway did in the Super Bowl for the Broncos. I feel really good about Green Bay today. And I love all your points, and I know that can happen. But I think Green Bay is going to play its best game of the year today. I just had this feeling.
Yeah, definitely. I think, listen, it's going to be an awesome game. And listen, I'm more comfortable with the 6. Listen, we got 1 unit on the 6. We got a quarter unit on the money line, right? So don't go crazy and throw all the money on the money line. like that's not what we're doing here. I like the Niners. I think they can keep it close. I do think they can win the game. We got an excellent question in the chat. William Hortis checking in. Listen, we appreciate you guys listening. We appreciate you guys watching. What's your favorite parlay of the weekend? So if I had to do like a money line parlay, pick 2 of these teams, I think that I would probably take, gosh, this is a good question. I would probably go Titans Tampa if I was doing money line parlay. We're going to talk about the Tampa game a little bit later, but I think they're the 2 teams that are talking about winning outright. I think that they're probably the 2 that I think with the best odds. Dave, you laying the 5.5 points. I'm sure the Packers would be part of yours.
They would be, and I'd likely squeeze the Titans in there as much as I like the Bengals +4. If I could get, I'm almost covered a little bit by taking the Titans money line as well. Like I said, I'm not sold the Bengals can win a close game. They were pretty paltry in the red zone last week, and they lost 2 overtime games this year, as I mentioned earlier. They played 5, so they sometimes struggle in close games. So, yeah, I would lean Titans money line, Packers money line, get it out of the way on Saturday.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. Not bad. All right, so listen, San Francisco, Green Bay, it's going to be an incredible game, dude. It's going to be an incredible game. Real quick before we turn the page, Dave, I got a quick question for you, right? We are probably not the biggest Aaron Rodgers fans in the world, right? There's probably bigger Aaron Rodgers fans out there. He is a tremendous talent. He's probably has the most arm talent we might have ever seen. But if they get blown out today, let's say San Francisco steamrolls them, and I know you don't believe that, and I know we're not betting that. San Francisco wins 31-14. They steamroll them. They move on. I think Rodgers might retire.
No.
You don't think so? I think he might retire. I think he might just go do his Joe Rogan show, podcast, or whatever, and all that, and just become like, I think he might hang it up, man.
Dude, unless they have flights to Mars available by that time, this dude, the next place he's going is outer space. He's out there, right? But as long as he's a weird dude, like I think he would almost like spit on the grave of Green Bay and come back, even do a play Vikings. Like this guy is just so like I think he knows he's not done. He's right there. He's probably gonna win MVP. I think Brady should. I mean, it's very close.
Yeah, he probably will win MVP.
Even with a loss, I almost think he'd laugh. Like, I mean, that's just who he is.
I just thought it was odd that he was like, "Hey, I'll be able to give you an answer right away after the season, like whether I'm staying or going."
I know.
And
I
just feel like he's setting things up for post, like all this like media stuff he does and trying to be the center of attention all the time and the reporters and calling out. Like, I just feel like he's setting up the post career, man. Like and whether that's, maybe he takes another shot with another team, maybe he gives it one more year, but I definitely think it's interesting. Like, I feel like he is laying the groundwork.
I agree. So let me answer one question. Let me answer one question in the chat. I see Childhood Greats asking about the total in this game. Hey, the Packers, the last few times they've actually played their starting lineup, 31 points, 36 points, 45 points, 31 points, 24 and 37. I don't think the train stops today. I mean, that's an average of somewhere in the low 30s. I would lean over. I think we're going to see some points in this game. The weather doesn't scare me. I think in those types of environments, sometimes you get bigger plays, in the cold. And so I lean over. It's not a strong play, but that's where I would lean.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, listen, I'm very big on this San Fran offense. I think they're not just – this isn't 2000 Ravens where they're just handing the ball off and trying to hide the quarterback. Like, Debo, Ayuk, like they got playmakers. Kittle, I think Kittle over is a great prop. I think he's going to have a ton of success. But so that lends to it. If they have to score – if they're scoring and Green Bay has to score to keep, to stay in this game or pull ahead and lead or keep them off their back, then I think all that stuff leans to the over. So absolutely love it. Arroyo, our guy Eric, wants to know a good teaser. So, if a good teaser, I think for this week, if you're going to tease it, I think you want to focus on tomorrow's games, to be honest with you. We're going to talk about Tampa and the Rams, but I think there might be a ton of value there with both dogs. Like I would just tease the dogs. Like if I'm teasing, I would do Buffalo, I think is a tremendous teaser leg. And I think, you need to make a decision whether you like the Rams or you like the Bengals is your other leg. I think that's the best way to attack the teasers.
Yeah, and I'll end the Green Bay game with I'm not scared of Devontae Adams prop. I think 7.5 receptions is very doable today. Like I said earlier.
No MVS.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be quick hitters. I just think they know. So I like the 7.5. The yards, 94.5. We'll see. Rodgers hasn't put up a ton of yards in these divisional games. Average is right around 280, 290. So then you're asking for Devontae to take a third of that. Maybe, but I like the receptions better.
Yeah, definitely. Good stuff. All right, so let's turn the page, right? We're going to go to tomorrow. And, we got the LA Rams. Huge win on national television. Monday Night Football, the first Monday night playoff game. They blow out Cliff Kingsbury and the Cardinals. Everything looks perfect in LA. The offense looks seamless. Matt Stafford lighting it up. Odell Beckham Jr. It's all Cleveland's fault now. He looks like he's, playing, at the level that we all thought he could play at, right? And the Rams taking a lot of money this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We've seen this line fluctuate, right? This thing opened up at 2.5. That was exactly when I jumped on it. We've seen it move. There's 3s out there. We're seeing it get bumped down a little bit at 2.5 in some spots. So you want to make sure that you get the best number, right? And what is the best way to get the best number? Download the Sharp app, odds comparison, all your favorite sports books. That's how you know you'll get the best number. You can track your bets on there. Again, be a part of the Discord community. The links are below. You can get a free 30 days and get all our professional handicappers picks at Sharp Bets. So you can see the promo code below, MDRUM free. That gets you 30 days on the subscription plan. So guys, join the team, have fun. Plenty of football left. We're going to bang out some strong bets this week. And then, of course, we have the AFC Conference Championship, NFC Conference Championship, and the Super Bowl. But let's get into it now. Tampa Bay and the Rams, Dave. This is a game. I banged Tampa Bay immediately at -2.5. I think this is recency bias written all over it with this Rams team. I don't understand how this team could struggle the way it struggled in the second half of the season. And now everybody expects them to beat Tom Brady, right? And I feel like I'm a little bit on an island in this game because the Rams taking a ton of money. People think that everything is fine, with that offense. We heard all week about Tristan Wirfs and the Buccaneers' offensive line problems. It's actually the Rams that are going to be missing their tackle in Whitworth. Listen, their backup is solid, but again, this is Todd Bowles on the other end. This is a defense that gave Patrick Mahomes nightmares, right? Not the same defense at the end of last year. Secondary a little bit banged up, but I like Tampa here, man. Like, you don't get my money if you're the Rams. If you struggle down the stretch at Minnesota, if you get by Baltimore by the skin of your teeth with Huntley at quarterback, right? If you blow a 17-point lead to the San Francisco 49ers in a game where the division title is on the line for you and you get outgained by 185 yards. No, you don't get my money just because you went out and blew out the Arizona Cardinals, right? As bad as the Arizona Cardinals were, and Dave, I was on the Cardinals in my pick'em pool. I had them as a teaser leg up to 10. They couldn't even cover that. But this team was terrible down the stretch. They let up 200 yards rushing to Seattle, of all people, and Rashad Penny. As bad as they were, they took a ton of money against this Rams team for a reason, because the Rams were not good in the second half, bottom half of the NFL in EPA per play on offense. But one game against the Cardinals, and everybody forgets everything, and they're throwing their money on the Rams this week against Tom Brady, who is 12-1 at home in the divisional round in his career. I don't see it, Dave. I'm firing the cannons. I'm all Bucks here. I got it in at 2.5. I would lay the 3 if you had to, but I think this is Tampa's game for sure.
So, we spent a lot of time last week kind of dissecting what Tampa is, what the Rams are, and really, like I said, and I'll still hang on it, is Tampa was the worst matchup for the Eagles. Really, it posed a great rushing defense, and they even posed a better rushing defense against the Eagles because they said, you can't pass it, and I don't even care. I'm going to start bringing up cornerback safeties. I'm going to plug 7, 8 in the box, and I'm going to make run blitzes. I'm going to make it even harder. And that's the kind of stuff that Todd Bowles can do. Obviously, it'll be a lot different this week, but I ask you this. What do you think was the key to the Rams winning last week?
The key was probably, I would say, I think everything went wrong for Arizona. So it's hard to kind of zero in on one thing.
I think it was running the ball 13 times in the first quarter and setting the tone. Cam Akers, Sony Michel busted one for about 40 yards. Being able to set that physicality, that tone early against Arizona, I think really set Matthew Stafford up in a comfort zone. Well, we talked about running, how it yielded passing success, because now you got Budda Baker, you got all these guys starting to cheat up a little bit, and then there you go. There's Beckham down the sideline. There's Higbee over the middle for big plays. Ain't gonna happen this week. That run defense at Tampa, I think, is the key in this game, is to keep Cam Akers, bottled in. Michel's not going to beat you. He's going to get his 4 yards here and there. Cam Akers is a game changer, and coming off that Achilles tendon injury, if you can keep him bottled in and make Matt Stafford beat you, I love it. I love the Bucs in this game as well. Listen, Matt Stafford in the last 4 regular season games, when his season was on the line, a chance to get the number 1 seed, 8 interceptions. I'm throwing out last week. Got it. 8 interceptions in his last 4 games, going against dreadful pass defenses. In the Vikings, he threw 3 in that game. The Ravens, as you mentioned earlier. The Niners, we've already talked about, not a great pass defense, threw 2 in that game. Seahawks, threw another 1 or 2 in that game. I can't put my money on Matt Stafford. And when I analyze and I understand that it's going to have to be on him because I think Tampa is going to bottle that run game. In the end, I know the injuries are big for the Bucs, but I think Brady can somehow manufacture and get in here. I think this is more of an under game. They played a big over game earlier in the season. I think Tampa knows how they have to win this game. I think they got to get their running game going. Keep Donald and the boys from getting over aggressive. And I think Brady, he'll get the ball out quick, right? 2-3 seconds, boom. I know the Eagles sacked them 4 times. They were all on 3rd down, and frankly, I just think he didn't care. But in this one, I think he will care. I think he gets fired up and juiced up playing these greats like Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. He can't wait to beat this team. I like the Bucs a lot, especially under the 3. I'm with you. I just don't think the Rams are going to be able to run the ball, and Matt Stafford's going to have to do something. And when Matt Stafford has to do something, it's pick 6 city.
Yeah, it's a problem for them, right? And I think, when you look at the quarterbacks, right, both offensive lines are depleted, right? Whitworth, their best offensive lineman, their tackle, he's out. Yes, they have an adequate backup. Tampa has an adequate backup as well. But, we're, Jansen, questionable. Jansen, probably the bigger one that I think people are worried about, and everything looks like he's a go,
yes.
Everything I've heard. But both defensive lines are going to be able to get pressure, right? Who are you more confident in mitigating that pressure? Tom Brady, who is one of the most talented players as far as footwork in the pocket, in NFL history, or Matt Stafford, right? I'm more confident in Brady. Again, we can look at some of these numbers. Brady, 12-1 at home in the divisional round, talked about. Tampa Bay, number 1 in offensive DVOA. Number 1 in average margin of victory at home, 16.1 points this season. First quarter scoring, first half scoring at home this year. They are number 1 in the NFL. The Rams are 23rd in the NFL in first quarter scoring. Now they're going on the road playing the best offense in the NFL. And, in Tom Brady, it almost everything points to the Bucs scoring first, getting out to the big lead. More pressure on Stafford, more pressure on McVay, right? You look at the coaches, right? You know who the coach at Tampa Bay is? Tom Brady, right? All the tough decisions, like, are we going to go on 4th down? They're all going to be made by Tom Brady, right? You look at the other side, McVay, it gets tight, gets real tight in these playoff games. That's what he does. He gets real conservative, starts kicking field goals, right? I think everything leans to Tampa Bay here. I don't see it. I think people saw the injury with Jansen and Weir. They saw the sacks at the end of the Eagles game, and they said, "Oh, Aaron Donald," right? Well, I get it. It could be a factor, but that is not the only factor. This is a Tampa Bay team that has, they beat the Bills at home. They've been tremendous at home. If you look at last year in their success, they did it all on the road. Except the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was their first home playoff game. They did it all on the road. They won the first quarter in all those games, all the way through the postseason, all the way through the Super Bowl, except for the Saints game. That was the only game when they traveled to New Orleans. They lost 6-0 in the first quarter. Every other game, they didn't tie. They won the first quarter. Last week against the Eagles, you saw them come out 14-0, in the first quarter. When they went to Green Bay, if you remember, and they won last year, they drove down the field and scored. They're going to score on this Rams defense, and they're going to score early and often. And I think Tampa rolls here, man. I think they get off to a big lead. I think the walls start caving in for Stafford. They start making mistakes. It's fire the cannons. They got Fournette back, right? So what are you going to do if you're Tom Brady? You're going to dump it off to Fournette. His receiving out of the backfield has improved tremendously since he came on with Tampa Bay. I think it's going to be playoff Lenny all over again, and I think the Tampa Bay Bucs are going to get the job done. I get they don't have Godwin. I don't care about Antonio Brown, but they got Evans, they got Gronk to work the middle of the field, and they got Fournette. That's all they need. I'm very confident. They knew the offensive line issues were going to be there all week. They had all week to prepare for it, all week to devise a game plan to attack this Rams defense. Listen, I'm essentially getting them on the money line at -2.5. Tampa Bay is the better team. They've been the better team all season. The entire season, they've been a better team. The Rams are horrible down the stretch. So I like Tampa here. I like them in a big way, laying the 2.5.
I like them too. So we're on the same side on one game. But I think it's a close game. I really do. I think this game is one worth tuning into. And I don't think it's going to be big. but I
Right.
do like the Bucks
Yeah,
in
I
this
think.
one.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think the teaser leg is not a bad teaser leg if you want to take Rams in 8.5. But I just think when it comes down to it, Brady's going to get the job done.
Yeah, and listen, like you said earlier, I have some early Super Bowl, preseason Super Bowl money on the Rams. Rams and Bills were my pick. So I'm not picking with my heart here. I think I've seen enough of these teams and understand, which way they're going to try and attack. And yeah, I'm with you. I think I think we're getting like extreme value with the Bucks, like crazy value.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
just
I
I
think
can't
getting
turn
it
it
under.
down.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, this is a good spot. Like I said, I mean, if the Rams had a bye, right? And let's say they got the number 1 seed, they had a bye, and they didn't play that Arizona game. This number is like 5. like,
Well,
there's
if it's in Tampa, if they had a bye, it'd be in LA, and yeah,
right,
yeah,
yeah, of
yeah,
course. But
yeah.
I'm saying like I think there's so much recency bias with this Arizona game. It's ridiculous. If you look at the last 4 games of the season, Rams were awful, just absolutely awful. But listen, we're up on 40 minutes, man. We are running out of time. Let's hit the big game. KC and Buffalo. Like I said, this is an interesting one. It came out -2.5. We've seen it go down to 1.5 in some spots. Bills and Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. Dave, what do you got here?
I love this game. As soon as the lines came out, I jumped on Bills plus 2.5. I know it's going down to 1.5 now. And I've read some articles from Vegas where it's really interesting that they have more money come in on Kansas City, but the line's going down. It's what we call a classic case of reverse line movement. They're really trying to prepare for the sharps that are going to come out and punch this game tomorrow late. So they don't care that they're getting the money. They're anticipating big Buffalo money coming in eventually from the sharp side. So they really have a sharp versus square, public versus, pros kind of situation that they're anticipating here. Not saying we're either one of those, but I'm just trying to understand reverse line movements are really key when you start to look at 70+% of the money's on Kansas City, but the lines move down. I think, a lot of bettors know Buffalo's a better team. Does that mean they win this game? Not necessarily, but they absolutely have the better offense and they have a better defense by miles. Now, Kansas City has gotten better down the stretch, but I think you've started to see this Buffalo team show you what they are. When they win games, I mean, they had a point differential over 200 this year. When they win games big. Bill Belichick came into the locker room of Buffalo Bills after the game, spent a lot of time in there, especially with Josh Allen, to just tell him he had no answers for him. He played one of the more perfect games you could get out of a quarterback. Buffalo Bills never punted, never kicked a field goal. 7 straight possessions of touchdowns, and then they kneeled the ball in the last one. And you're talking about the 5th-ranked defense in the NFL total, overall, the New England Patriots, in a cold environment where Josh Allen has typically underperformed at night. And he did it all. This team, I think, is just coming together at the perfect time. I really think them losing out here last year, Stephon Diggs staying on the field, watching the celebration, taking it all in, absorbing it, putting those memories into his head, I think can just dial them in even further. I love Mahomes. I love Reed. I know they can beat you themselves. But in the end, I think that defense, I'm not sure they can slow down Allen. I like the Bills outright. Got my 2.5. I'm going to be happy. Probably plug in some money line a little bit later, too. I just wanted to hold a position early. I think the Bills are going to the Super Bowl. We'll see. Obviously, whoever wins this game is going to be a favorite, even on the road next week. But, yeah, this is like a potential Super Bowl matchup. These are 2 great teams. Can't wait to watch. And but I'm on the Bills, baby. The Mafia.
Yeah, childhood greats checking in. Has the over in this matchup. He loves it. A lot of people in the over here. There's going to be a ton of scoring, Dave. But I'm with you. And I haven't bet it yet, but I'm probably just going to go Bills money line. Like I'm not even going to take the points here. It's under 3. I'm probably just going to play the Bills money line. I think when you look at, I had this conversation with a lot of people all the time we talk about football. Defense only matters in the NFL when you have a great offense. Like if you don't have a great offense, defense doesn't matter. Like you need to score points in the NFL. And I think we see, the Bills' number 1 defense in the NFL this year, number 1 against the pass, right? We can talk about the level of competition all we want. The number's grayed out. It's been 18 weeks, right? So you got to give them some credit. We saw against, this Chiefs team against Tampa last year in the Super Bowl, right? The defense was important because Tampa Bay could score whenever they wanted on the Chiefs, right? And the Bills are going to be able to score whenever they want on this defense. You look at Josh Allen and, what he did last week against the Patriots, top 5 defense in the NFL, the greatest defensive mind in the history of the NFL, and Bill Belichick probably. We've seen him multiple times just completely shut out, prolific offenses, had no answer. Like every drive was a touchdown. Every single drive was a touchdown. And I really think that things changed for the Bills, when they realized that they needed to incorporate Josh Allen as part of the running game. And, in that week 5 win where the Bills blew Kansas City out, that was the first time that Josh Allen got double-digit carries. And then they got away from it. And it really didn't happen again until they played Tampa Bay. And they lost that game by a small margin. I think it was 33-27. He ran for 12 carries, 100 yards, right? And since then, he averages like 8 or 9 carries a game. The team averages 160 yards rushing, with him being a big part of that running game over the last 6 games, over 160 yards rushing. So they were 18th in rushing success rate before that Tampa game. They've been 6th in rushing success rate ever since, right? In that game, they outgained Tampa on a yards per play basis, 8.1-5. And everybody wants to say, oh, well, Tampa Bay's defense has improved so much down the stretch. Let's look at some of the quarterbacks that they improved against, because they didn't look real good against Justin Herbert. They didn't look real good against Joe Burrow. They look good against Drew. They look okay against Drew Lock. They almost lost. They let Drew Lock hang around. They're not playing Big Ben. Like, this is Josh Allen here. This is a very, very good Bills offense, and I think that they're going to be able to score a ton of points. And I think KC, what we saw this year was they're a team that does make mistakes. They turned the ball over 4 times in the first matchup. And I really think that the Bills' defense is going to be the difference here. Both offenses are going to be able to score a ton, but it's going to be the Chiefs that are feeling the pressure, having to keep up with the Bills' offense. I think what that first game did was, got the Bills over the mental hurdle. I don't think the Bills are afraid of this Chiefs team. I think that, they've been standing in the Bills' way of getting to the Super Bowl for a couple years now. I think they get the job done today. Awesome stat I heard from the guys over at Sharp Football Stats. I think it was Rich Rebar, Dan Pizzola. Not sure which one had it, but listen, in playoff history, right, when teams win in the regular season by 17 points or more, the team that won the rematch in the playoffs the last 15 times. Right? So when there's a margin of victory by more than 17 points in the regular season, that team has won 15 straight in the playoffs when they rematch. So I think that plays in here. And I'm not saying that it's a trend, so you got to play it. But I think it speaks to the fact that the Bills are not afraid in this matchup. They're coming into Arrowhead. They believe they're the better team. I think they're going to show it on the field. I got Bills money line. I got a Bills, plus I think it's 1,400 ticket for them to score the most points in the playoffs. They need to advance to do that. So I'm Bills Mafia all the way. But it's going to be a tremendous matchup, Dave. Yeah. This is really everything that we've been waiting for all season.
And let's be honest. I mean, the Chiefs turned things around. Give them credit. But since they turned those things around, they beat the Giants, the Raiders twice, the Chargers, the Steelers twice, lost to the Bengals. They weren't really playing. They turned around, but they weren't necessarily playing the cream of the crop. So
the only reason they beat the Chargers was because the Chargers went 0 for 65 on fourth downs.
I know. Brandon Staley should be fired tomorrow. If Anthony Lynn was losing games, this guy lost them in ways I could not even imagine. But I'll get into that. The other thing I want to say about the Chiefs is in this divisional round, they haven't really lit the world on fire. Baker Mayfield and his Browns had these guys beat last year, but just failed in the red zone. Year before that, Deshaun Watson gets out to a 24-0 lead and then chokes it up. It goes 51-31. Got it. But, I mean, you got 24-0. You got to close that thing out. You can't – if they get – and then they beat the Colts the year before that with Andrew Luck in one arm, right? So Colts, Texans, Browns, not really the cream of the crop. It's the cream of the crop this week, and you can't just sleep for a second here. They've been beating bad teams. They haven't necessarily showed up in this divisional round. I think it's a perfect – the stars are aligning for Buffalo. This is their comeback tour, and this is the kick you in the face. New England, I'm done with you. Chiefs, this is my other – got to get you out of here. I already did once. Now I'm going to get you out here in the playoffs. And then the big one for them is the Titans after this. So this is their time. I really believe
Absolutely love it. Agree 100%. I think everything lines up. You know, I was on BetMGM tonight before the playoffs started. They asked for the Super Bowl prediction. I gave them Bills over Green Bay, right? Listen,
Yeah.
I'm on San Francisco money line, but that was the pick that I gave out. And you know, got some eye rolls from the Bills side. You know, a lot of people not, you know, but I think after that New England game,
Yeah.
I think it
They
really
know.
opened some people's eyes up. And I don't think they're afraid of this Chiefs team. This Chiefs team has made a lot of mistakes, right? This year, like they're not the well-oiled machine that they were 2 years ago.
Tyreek Hill is nowhere. Like it
Yeah,
just
he's
feels
banged
like
up.
he's like,
Right.
yeah.
Tyreek Hill's banged up. And they go to him like it's funny that you bring that up because they really don't have people that they can rely on. Like I know, you know, McKinnon has done some good things lately, but outside of Hill and Kelsey, like when like you'll see in like high leverage situations, like they go to Hill every time on that like 2 yard out. Like they
Yeah.
do like they really lean on those guys because they don't have the depth there in that receiving core. Guys like Pringle and you know, I'm not sure that they can step up if they need to in this type of game. And the Bills, man, like, you know, ton of weapons. Like you're seeing Isaiah McKenzie just blow up in front of our eyes.
Devin Singletary has been like I never thought this guy. I thought you could have gave up on last year. He's a guy that would take out the goal line for Zach Moss. He's become one of the better running backs the second half of the season in the entire league. And he's a threat in the passing game.
I think they are absolutely built for this. I think that, you know, everything that they've done from a roster construction standpoint has been for this game, has been to beat the Chiefs. They came up short last time. I don't think they come up short again. I think they've been waiting for this game all season. So it is Bills Mafia for us, man. And it's gonna wrap up our show. Listen, 4 awesome games. I cannot wait until next week. We can come back and talk about NFC Championship, AFC Championship. We appreciate you guys tuning in with us every single week. Be a part of the community. Go download the Discord. Listen, there's a ton of promotions with a ton of different sports books that you can take advantage of. They have them all listed. We have, you know, separate channels in the Discord for each one where you can get in there. You can get this free money from these sports books. You can bet, you know, these football games and, you know, really have some fun as we finish off the season. So we appreciate each and every one of you guys checking in. We will be back next Saturday betting for breakfast. NFL Conference Championship games. But listen, good luck to everybody. Hope all these bets cash. We come back next week a lot richer. I'm Mark Drumheller for Dave Gleckner. Betting for breakfast, the whole Sharp team. Let's win some money. We'll see you guys next week.